Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Syed Akif Shah, lecturer finance at Institute of Business Studies, Kohat University of Science and Technology. The title of this course is Business Research Methods, and the course code for this subject is MS 312. This is lecture number 21st, and the topic for today's discussion is elements of research design. Basically, this topic is step number 7 of the research process. This is a complete research process diagram which we have started, and we have already covered the first 6 steps of this research process diagram. As a just short recap, we have covered the broad problem area has been explained, and then preliminary data gathering was discussed in detail, which leads towards the definition of the problem and developing or making a research problem clearly defined and narrowed down. Step number 4 was regarding the critical literature review, where we have highlighted the important factors or variable pertinent to our research problem. And if the research work is depending upon the induction procedure, then we can directly move towards the step number 7, which is research design, and specifically it will be discussed in detail in today's lecture. However, if the process belongs to the deduction method, which have already been explained, you can go to my previous lecture and listen on deduction and induction. So if the procedure of research is deduction, then we can formulate a theoretical framework as well as to highlight the important variable and develop the nexus or relationship between them. Step number 6 is to develop the testable statements or hypothesis. And now we are on step number 7. And in step number 7, which is research design, will occupy series of few lectures to discuss the in detail mechanism of research design. The outline of this lecture comprises of the definition of the research design, under which we shall discuss the purpose of study, and secondly, the type of investigation we are going to do. So these last two points are actually the part of research design, and the later steps of research design are important area to be highlighted, shall be discussed in next lecture. What is a research design? After identifying the relevant variable in a problem situation and developing the theoretical framework in the couple of previous 2 steps of the research process, we are at a position to design our research. The next step is to design the research in a way that the requisite data can be gathered and analyzed to arrive at a solution. So after highlighting or clarifying the broad problem areas, variables have been identified and a proper theoretical framework or conceptual model has been developed. In the research design step, we are actually going to gather the requisite or the important data pertaining to those variables, which should be gathered and then later on analyzed with the help of statistical packages to arrive at a solution and find out the desired outcome, or to find out if our desired expected answer have been arised and come up or not. So let us discuss the first point of designing a research. We should know about the purpose of our study, or to know about the purpose of the research work. It could be threefold. Number first is our research study could be an exploratory in nature. Secondly, it could be descriptive in nature. And thirdly, it could be a hypothesis testing. So a researcher must be clear about what type of research work he is going to encounter with. Either the study belong to the exploratory nature, or it is a descriptive nature, or finally it could be a hypothesis testing. And as well as, yes, last but not the least, it could also be a case study, which is a specific kind of study related with that specific industry or a specific company. So let us discuss the first type of a study, which is really important, is exploratory study. It is undertaken not Exploratory study is undertaken when not much is known about the situation at hand. It means that in exploratory study, the knowledge regarding the problem or the narrowed down problem has not been encountered with anyone in other company, or might be there are few researches have been done previously and available in the literature pertaining to the problem we are facing in our organization. So we can say that when there is not much known about a particular situation which has been encountered by a company or any researcher, that kind of study is known as an exploratory study. We can say that no information is available on how similar problem or research issues have been solved in the past. As we have limited knowledge or information regarding such kind of studies, so no researcher in the past have actually resolved such kind of problem. So such kind of studies or research work are known as exploratory. There are very few researches have been conducted on that specific topic, and most of the time it is qualitative study, like it is based on the interview or physical observation of certain phenomena in an organization. Let us take an example of an exploratory study. Suppose a manager of multinational corporation is curious to know if the work ethics of the employees working in Hayatabad Industrial State, which is situated in Peshawar, would be different from those of Americans. Now, in this kind of study, a manager of multinational corporation is curious to know about the work ethics of the employee. Now, Hayatabad Industrial State is a quite smaller sector, and we can say that there is no information about the ethnic values of its worker available, and also the work ethic value mean be different to the people in different culture. So the manager as a researcher is primarily interested to know about the ethic values of the employees working in Hayatabad Industrial State. So here much is not previously known, and no research previously has been conducted on a similar nature problem. So such kind of studies are known as exploratory in nature because we are exploring a new phenomena. Let's have a question and a confusion that does conducting a research for the first time in an organization makes it exploratory study? So the answer to this question is no. Why? It is not necessary that the organization is pursuing a particular study for the first time. Rather, for a study or research work to be an exploratory in nature, the information or the published material on the same phenomena must not be known to the people or researcher. Let's discuss the second kind of research work, which is descriptive study. Descriptive study is undertaken in order to ascertain and able to describe the characteristics of the variable of interest in a situation. Here we would like to find out the relationship or characteristics of a particular interested phenomena, and much is already known about the previous with the help of previous study we can take help from those studies, but we would like to describe a particular phenomena or a situation pertaining to an organization. Let's take an example of a CEO who might be interested in having a description of organization in his industry that follow the LIFO system. Now, in this particular study, the CEO is interested to know about how many number of companies are using LIFO inventory system in the specific industry. Now, such kind of study is known as descriptive study, as we are not trying to find out the relationship, rather we would like to describe a particular phenomena in a specific sector. So in this case, the report might include, like, the CEO might be interested to find out the age of the organization and their location where the company is situated. Their production levels could be the point of emphasis. What are different types of assets and total asset of those companies, the sales of the companies, their inventory levels, suppliers, and the profits of the company. So we can infer that such information might allow the comparison later on regarding the performance level of the specific types of companies. However, in general, such kind of studies are known as descriptive studies. We can also define that a descriptive study are undertaken in organization to learn about to describe the characteristics of a group of employees. As an example, if we are interested to know about the age level of employees at different departments, we can find out the education level of the employees, job status, and the length of service they have performed so far. So such kind of study is not actually developing a relationship of variable with each other. Rather, the purpose of this research study is to gather the data to describe the particular phenomena, or we can say make classification of the pertinent data with each other on one place. So therefore, we can find out the frequencies of the data we are gathering. We can find out the mean value. Like for example, if the researcher is interested to find out the age level of the employee in the organization, so we can find out what is the mean or average age of the workers or employees performing their duty in a specific organization. And we can also find out the standard deviation, which is the standardized measure of variance or deviation of the data with respect to their mean value. Now let's come towards the third type of study, which is known as a research work based on hypothesis testing. So the studies that engage in hypothesis testing usually explain the nature of certain relationship. In this kind of study, the researcher is interested to develop the relationship between two variables, or if the variables are more than two, then we can say that they develop the relationship amongst the variable. Like one could be dependent variable and there could be three independent variable which might be influencing the dependent variable, which is the prime interest of the researcher. Or we can also find out or establish the differencing among the group members. For example, a marketing manager wants to know if the sale of a company will increase if he doubles the advertising dollars. Now, the marketing manager is interested to test such kind of research work with the help of hypothesis testing in order to find out the relationship between the advertising and sale of the company. And normally we presume and make hypothesis that the greater the number of dollars invested in advertising, the higher will be the sales of the company. Here the manager would like to know the nature of relationship between advertising and sales by testing hypothesis. Therefore, we can infer that after, let's suppose, the hypothesis have been substantiated and confirmed true, you can infer that if the advertising is increased, then sales will go up. If there is a positive correlation and a positive one-on-one relationship, or if the regression line is telling us there is positive association of advertising with the sales phenomena of the company. So such kind of research work are known as hypothesis testing, where we collect the data and with the help of statistical packages we actually perform different tests in order to reject the null hypothesis so that the desired situation or expected research model or problem could be solved. So before starting the next phenomena regarding the research design, let me conclude that the researcher should clearly know about the nature of the research work he is conducting in the organization. Like either the study belong to the descriptive study nature, it might be the exploratory study, or it could be the hypothesis testing. This must be clear by the researcher and nature of the research problem should be known to the researcher so that the next design step would be cleared. Now let's discuss the second research design element, which is known as the type of investigation. Here we have two kinds of studies nature. One is known as the causal relationship and the second one is known as correlational study. Researchers should determine that whether the particular problem or phenomena under study belongs to a causal study or a correlational study is needed to find an answer to issue at hand or to elaborate, and it must be clear to the researcher. Now let's discuss what is a causal study. The study in which the researchers want to determine the cause of one or more problems. Let's say we can take an example later on as well, that for the time being we can say researchers interested to find out whether the smoking causes cancer in the human being. Such kind of studies are known as causal studies because one factor might be causing the influence in the other factor. We also have the second nature known as correlational study, when the researcher is interested to determine the important variables association with the problem. Here the researcher is interested to find out the relationship of the 2 or 3 variables with each other. However, the researcher cannot with 100% guarantee says that one particular factor is causing the change in another factor. Let's take another example of the causal study, like for example, the poverty leads towards the crimes of a person in a community. So we can say that make a statement like poverty causes crimes in a society. So such kind of, if the research question is a kind of nature that which is explaining that one particular phenomena or one particular problem is causing another variable, such kind of study are known as causal. However, if you would like to determine the relationship between two variables, for example, as we have taken advertising example, that if the advertisement of a company doubles, it will increase the sales of the company. Another way around, we can also develop a research question in the way that is there any relationship between advertising and the sales. If the research question is designed in this fashion, we can say it is a correlational study, and if the research questions are designed in the way that one particular variable is causing the another one, we can say that it is a causal study. Let's take another example. Depending on the different type of research questions asked, which are usually developed on the basis of theoretical framework, what you have highlighted in the previous step, where you have also determined the research question and objectives later on the basis of the model. We can take an example of the causal question like, does smoking cause cancer? Here we can seriously or clearly see the relationship of smoking with the cancer. Like if somebody is do smoking, it will cause cancer or lungs cancer in that individual. However, we cannot say with 100% guarantee that if somebody is suffering from cancer, even though if he or she is not smoking, may start smoking later on. There is not a reverse kind of relationship or cause. It means that the cancer does not cause somebody to do smoking or start smoking. However, we see most of the time in 95% cases that if somebody smoke, it will lead towards cancer in that individual. So if the research questions are delineated in such kind of fashion, we can say that it is a causal study or research work. Now let's take a correlational study question. The same phenomena can be a correlational study depending upon the researcher, that what kind of nexus he would like to develop, and the research question in this case is, are smoking and cancer related? Now here we would like to develop a relationship between two factors in order to know whether these two factors are related with each other or not. Either the relationship will be yes, the smoking and cancers are related with each other. We can take the data related with the smoker and the number of patients in the hospital, and then we can ask them with the help of interview that whether they did smoking in past or not. So if the research work substantiated that the maximum number of cancer patient have accepted the smoking habit in the past, we can infer that there is a relationship between smoking and cancer. However, if the maximum number of cancer patients in an hospital disagree with the smoking habits, we can say that there is no strong significant relationship between the two variables. So it all depends upon the researcher's approach and the research design what he is interested in. Either the researcher is interested to develop a causal study and then make a research question pertaining to that kind of study, or it could be a correlational study. Then the research question may be designed in this fashion, like are smoking and cancer related with each other. So this was all about the discussion regarding the elements of research design, where we have discussed the two primary important elements of research design. If you have any confusion, you can freely ask your question on KCMS and on my registered email. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. Good luck for the day. Allah Hafiz.